to all of you who have made time to be with us today on this occasion of an important discussion. Can the India-Japan partnership be a factor of stability in an uncertain world? Japan has emerged as one of India's key economic and strategic partners, especially in the past decade. There is immense complementarity between the strengths of the two nations, and in recent years, the relationship has gone from strength to strength. We at the Ananta Aspen Center have been working closely with leaders and partner organizations from Japan to further strengthen this relationship. Our Track 2 dialogue with Japan aims to bring the two countries together, to bring them closer and enhance collaboration on areas of mutual interests. In addition, we also convene a trilateral dialogue with the US and Japan, which highlights the deepening of mutual trust and confidence between these three important democracies in the world. The Nippon Foundation is a key partner, and we are honored to work with them in enhancing India-Japan relations. I'm confident that this partnership would scale new heights, contribute towards deepening of understanding, and bring people of both countries closer. The visit of Indian members of parliament to Japan is an important element of this partnership. I had the privilege and opportunity of leading a delegation of Indian MPs to Japan last February. My colleague, Mr. P.D. Rai, who is also here on the dais with us, was also a part of the delegation. We had excellent meetings and interactions and had the honor of meeting the Prime Minister, the Foreign Minister, and other political business leaders and leaders from other spheres as well. The Japanese ambassador in New Delhi addressed a session under our Ambassador Series last February, and then again after Prime Minister Modi's visit to Japan in October. We are also reaching out to university faculties, colleges, and students with experts who have deep knowledge of foreign policy and India-Japan cooperation in particular. I mention these details as it demonstrates the growing engagement between our two countries and how the business, academic, media, and other stakeholders should take cognizance and move forward with as much speed, interest, and zeal on bilateral relations. Today, we have with us a very distinguished panel. You all know Mr. Sasakawa. He is an old friend of India, a really deep and committed friend of India, chairman of the Nippon Foundation and recipient of the Gandhi Peace Prize of 2018 for his extraordinary contribution towards eradication of leprosy in India. Mr. Sasakawa, on behalf of the guests and panelists, I would like to extend our heartiest congratulations, best wishes, and many more tributes for your remarkable achievements. We are very happy to have you here with us today. You really have truly been an inspiration far beyond your mission of eradicating leprosy in building the bilateral relationship between our two nations. I've been fortunate to know you for 15 years, and through your guidance and involvement, built many friendships with my counterparts in Japan. I would like to request all of us here to give a standing ovation to Sasakawa-san. Mr. P.D. Rai is a senior member of parliament, very engaged, involved, dynamic leader who has been involved in foreign policy matters for a long time. I've had the privilege of working with him in parliament and outside on many occasions. Thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you.
Mr. Tarun Das, Chairman, Sasakawa India Leprosy Foundation and founding trustee of the Ananta Aspen Center. He was honored with the imperial decoration of the Order of the Rising Sun, gold rays and neck ribbon by the Emperor of Japan for his contribution to strengthening broad-based Japan-India relations and promoting mutual understanding. Today, we will discuss the growing India-Japan ties, challenges and opportunities, the key issues of global governance, the dynamics in the Indo-Pacific region, and also social, economic, and maritime cooperation between the two countries. Without further ado, I would now request Sasakawa-san to give us his address.
Sorry, 1 second. Sorry to take a second, but can I please request all of you to switch off your phones or at least put it on silent, because it's very, very disturbing when it starts ringing and the speaker is speaking. Thank you so much.
そこから喋れるの？英語で。
May I request Sasakawa-san
Yes.
to give his address?
多くのこのインドを代表する知識人の皆さんがお集まりのところで、私に外交関係を含めて、話をしろということで驚いております。私はインドではこのレプロシーをこの国からなくす、それからレプロシーの患者さんたちの孤児期をゼロにするということを私は生涯の仕事の一つとして取り組ましていただいているわけでございまして、今回もそういうことでインドの各地方を回る予定にいたしております。そういうことで畑違いの今日は話をしなければいけないわけですが、皆様方に満足できる話ができるかどうかは若干の不安はございますが、パンダさんからの質問に答えていきたいと思います。
Well, I am so honored to be able to speak in front of the so many well-known delegates and intellects who's gathered here representing your own country, India. Well, I was just asked that I be talking about some diplomatic relations of the two countries, and I am a little bit nervous about that because my lifelong mission is actually to eradicate leprosy from India and also to bring down the beggars down to zero from the leprosy colonies. So my mission is a little bit different from the areas of the talk or the topic of today, but I would like to hear from the questions that Mr. Panda may want to ask me so that I would like to respond to those questions as much as possible.
Okay. I had the privilege of having lunch with Sasakawa-san today, where he shared many delightful anecdotes of his experiences in foreign policy, which shed light on many different aspects. Now, I had planned that we would have the three panelists speak and then go into question and answer. But I think since Sasakawa-san has hit the ball back into my court quite early and quite forcefully, I will perhaps take the liberty of beginning with a couple of questions to Sasakawa-san before going back to the other panelists. So let me start, Sasakawa-san, with the mission which you have made your life's work, which is to eradicate leprosy. It's an important subject because we still continue to have incidents of leprosy, and more important than the disease itself, the stigma associated with leprosy. There was a report in newspapers today. On the 30th of this month, we will be observing the World Leprosy Day. We are all aware of your immense contribution to leprosy patients, their treatment, and eradication of this scourge. I would like you to share with us your vision as to where are we on this journey and what is the road ahead for a leprosy-free India.
ありがとうございます。私の得意の分野から入っていただいたパンダさんの優しさに御礼を申し上げます。今年は特にレプロシーについても大きな関心をお寄せだったマハトマ・ガンジーさんが亡くなってちょうど150周年という記念すべき年でございまして、モディ首相もことのほか予算をつけていただきまして、このレプロシーを2030年にはゼロにしたいという熱い思いがございます。私たちは政府とともにこれをぜひ実現をしていきたいというふうに思っております。この病気の特徴はですね、他の病気とちょっと違いまして、病気になってもあまり痛いとか辛いとか熱が出るとかという反応がございませんので、しかも神様の罰であるとか呪いであるとかということはこれは世界中で言われていることでございますので、症状もそれほどはっきりと出るまでには3年も5年もかかりますもんですから、なかなか病院に行かない。従いまして、インドではアッシャーという制度がございまして、各家々を回って病人を探し出すと、そういう形に現在なっております。
First of all, Mr. Panda, thank you very much for your kind consideration of starting asking the questions from where my expertise is. Now, it's 150th anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi, and with this landmark in place, Prime Minister Modi have secured much budget in order to work in the field of leprosy. He had also targeted year 2030 to be the leprosy-free year, and he is quite passionate about achieving that objective by 2030. Therefore, I myself, as well as the government of India, is going to go hand in hand in order to achieve that objective. Now, the uniqueness of the leprosy as an illness is so unlike from other kind of diseases. Usually, when you're sick, you feel pain or you feel feverish. However, in case of leprosy, those does not exist. But instead, people would talk about the leprosy patient as being the curse of God. And this kind of discrimination is occurring in various parts of the world. And in fact, since the outbreak of the leprosy, it would take about 3 to 4 years of an incubation. So from that sense, even if the person is being leprosy infected, they would not go to the hospitals unless it's absolutely necessary. So the diagnosis tends to take place later in the phase. And so because of this kind of uniqueness, we have people called the ushers. And these are the group of people who would actually visit each and every households in the neighborhood and trying to find the leprosy patient. And this is in a way one of the uniqueness of this leprosy as an illness in comparison to other kind of diseases.
現在約20万人ぐらいの新規患者が出ておりますが、探し出せば40万人ぐらいの患者が出てくると推察をいたしておりますが、世界の患者の 60% がインドという状況下にあります。そして何よりもこの病気は 旧約聖書の時代からスティグマとディスクリミネーションを伴った病気であるということで、比較的長くこの生きることができますので、社会の中で存在することが大変困難な状況でございますから、インドでも私が調べた中で約850のコロニーがございますが、しっかりと調べていきゃ1500ぐらいになるんではないかと思って、今再調査をこれからしようと思っておりますが、各州政府を回りまして、こういう方々の特に年を取った方に特別のペンションを出していただく交渉をさせていただいておりますが、どこの州政府に行きましても本当にこのしっかりと対応をしてくださるということはインドだけでございまして、よその国に行くと必ず予算がないという話になるんですが、インドではどこの州を回りましても予算がないって断られたことは一度もありません。ただ正確なデータがないので、私どもが調査したデータを出せばペンションをつけてくださると、特別の年金をいただけるという形になってきておりますし、コロニーの状況を説明すればしっかりと対応してくださるということでございまして、この対応の仕方はやはり世界の中でもインドが突出していると思います。
And each year there are 200,000 new cases detected. But I think that through an active search of new patients, I'm sure this number could rise to maybe 400,000. And 60% of the leprosy patient of the world is concentrated here in India. And leprosy's uniqueness is that it appears in the Old Testament as well. Therefore, this has become the stigma as well as discrimination from the society from quite a long time. And even if the person is affected as leprosy, the person is quite long-lived, and therefore they are always being stigmatized as well as put under a severe discrimination even living in the society itself. In India, it is said that there are 850 colonies, but if we do an active search and do more of an accurate survey, I think that this number may go up to maybe 1,500 or so altogether. But my job is to go to each and every state of India and to talk to the state government officials so that they would be able to provide a special allowance for the elder people who's living in those colonies in India. And no matter each time I go and see the state officials, they are always understanding about the situation. We always bring the accurate data and show them the data as to how many patients are there, as well as how many colonies are there. The state officials are always responsive and try to handle the situation at its best. And I think that this is quite amazing for us, because other countries would always make an excuses by saying we don't have budget, therefore we won't be able to take care of those people. However, the state officials from India is always understanding and try to do their best in order to tackle this challenge that they're faced with. So in a way, we are very much appreciative of those efforts.
特に若い人たちにつきましては、やはり職業訓練の必要性、それからタルンダースさんにお願いしまして、財産活動としてそういうマイクロクレジットといいましても相当高額なものを提供することによって彼らが自立した生活ができるようにする。そして、若い青年子どもたちにはやはりきちっと奨学金制度を設けて教育の機会を与えると いうことが大切だと思っております。彼らには働く能力もございますし、情熱もあるんですが、働く機会に恵まれないという状況下にあるわけでございます。私はレプロシーだけではなくて、障害者全般の問題を国連を中心にして活動をしておりますが、やはりそういう人たちと共にですね、どのような障害を持っても、あるいは人種を超えてですね、あるいは宗教を超えて、そういうインクルーシブな社会を作っていくということが、現代に生きる私たちに与えられた使命ではないかというふうに考えているわけでございます。そういう意味でインドの取り組みというのは世界の最も活動的な役割をしていただいておりますけども、やはりスティグマとか差別の問題は人間一人一人の心の問題でございますから、この問題を解決するということはそう簡単なことではないと私は思っております。ただ病気自体をなくすことはもうすでに2030年という目標が設定されておりますので、今の状態でいけば可能だと思いますが、その人間の心の中に長い歴史の中でこの決してレプロシーだけではなくて、人間が人間を差別する心というもの、これを取り除いていくというのはやはり私の世代だけでは無理な話でございます。何世代もかかるかも分かりませんが、この問題はやはり差別の象徴的な問題としてレプロシーが存在するというふうに私は理解をいたしております。この問題が皆様方のお力をいただいて大幅に前進することによって、さまざまな障害を持った人、あるいはさまざまなマイノリティの人、あるいは宗教の違う人たちを含めたインクルーシブなそういう社会ができた時に初めて平和というのが訪れるのではないかというふうに私は考えております。
Especially the young people who's affected by leprosy is concerned. I think that there is a need for them to take the vocational training, as well as what the organization, the foundation led by Tarun Das, has been doing, is to provide a microcredit to those people so that they would be able to start a business or whatever means for them to be able to live autonomously. And for that, they are always passionate and enthusiastic to want to work. And they are capable of performing as part of the workforce. However, unfortunately, they do not have the opportunity to access to the job. So this is one of the downside that we're faced with to date. And so we do provide such training. And at the same time, especially for the young people, at the schooling age, we provide the scholarship programs so that they would be able to access to the education as well. We're trying to work with the United Nations as well, and also with the disability organizations, so that not only the problem to be constrained within the world of leprosy, but at the same time, by expanding into different stakeholders, we would be able to overcome the situation and at the same time able to create the inclusive society down the road in the future. And I think that when it comes to the leprosy, India is in a way in a leading position to tackle this problem from the standpoint of stigma as well as discrimination. These stigma and discrimination is in a way something to do with each individual's, us all's mind and heart of discriminating person to the other. And therefore, it's not easy to completely overcome the stigma as well as discrimination. But I would say that the illness itself, the disease itself, would be able to achieve zero, as Prime Minister Modi have mentioned to aim 2030 for that date. And I think that's possible. Now, when it comes to the stigmatization as well as discrimination, like I have mentioned, this goes back to a long history. So in a way, this is the symbolic disease that has caused the discrimination as well as stigma in the world of human lives. And I think that this may not be able to be eradicated at my generation year, and I think that it may require multiple generations after in order to not to discriminate or stigmatize people. But by having the stakeholders, including people like you, to support us, we would be able to help the situation to a better way so that the inclusive society can be established in which the people with disabilities as well as the minorities, leprosy-affected people, would be able to live even without the constraint of religion. And I think that when that society is established, I think we would be able to enjoy the true meaning of peace.
Thank you, Sasakawa-san. We all have seen your continued involvement and passion in this great mission. I would now like to shift to a question on geopolitics. Apart from many distinguished diplomats in the room, we have people from the world of industry, academia, scholarship, politics, and they would all benefit from your perspectives on what I am going to ask you. I have seen you work closely with successive Japanese governments and Indian governments at the highest levels. My question is about the India-Japan cooperation on international infrastructure, but in reality, it is also a question about China. So my question is this: the Freedom Corridor or the Asia-Africa Growth Corridor was initiated with a large vision as an alternate vision to the One Belt, One Road project that China has been implementing globally. What are your thoughts on China's role in the world today, especially in Asia, and how do these two countering visions play off against each other? How can democracies like Japan and India, and perhaps the US and others, cooperate to provide a similar vision of development for the world? And how does that face off against a growing and assertive China?
まあ、今日中国がこれだけ急速なその科学技術、軍事力を含めて、発展してきた理由は、これはアメリカの積極的な中国に対する関与であると私は思っております。今日はハドソン研究所からの方もお見えでございますけども、ハドソン研究所のピルズベリーさんが書いた100年のマラソンという中国に関する非常に説得力のある本が出ておりますが、日米安全保障条約によって日米間が非常に緊密な連携にある中におきましても、アメリカは中国に軍事機密を含めた産業界全般、あるいは科学者の養成、人材養成も含めて幅広い支援をやってきたということでございまして、これはアメリカから中国は必ずアメリカが支援して、社会が より開かれた形になって必ずや民主的な国家になるだろうと、またしなければいけないというアメリカの政府の一方的な希望的観測のもとに支援してきた結果が今日の中国を作ったわけでございますし、南沙諸島の問題も海の問題もございますけれども、もう10年も以上前から中国はそういう地域を軍事的な施設として作ってきたのをアメリカはずっと見逃してきたわけで、一度も忠告をしたこともなかったわけで、ここに来ましてようやくアメリカ政府は中国はやっぱりダメだと、民主化はできないという諦めがここに来てやっとついたということで、中国に対する態度を今一変させているというのが現実ではないかと思います。そういう中におきまして、やはりインド太平洋の平和と安全のためには、世界一の民主国家であるインド、そして長い間の緊密な関係にある日本との関係、この3カ国にオーストラリアも非常な関心を持っておりますので、価値観を共有する国の団結において、この中国の現在の拡張政策に対抗していかなければいけないという大きな方向転換がなされたのではないかというふうに考えております。そして中国の一帯一路政策ということにつきましては、多くの方が少し読み違えていたことは、特に日本の知識人がそうだったんですが、一帯一路というと日本にとりましてはやはり昔のシルクロードということがすぐ頭に浮かぶものですから、この一帯の方、いわゆる大陸の方に目が向いてしまったんですが、実は中国は海路、いわゆる海洋を使った一路の方がコスト的にも安いと。各港を抑えていく。インドにとりまして一番重要な拠点でありますこのスリランカ、ご承知のようにすでに中国のその借款の罠に引っかかりまして、99年間港を提供することになったことは皆さんご承知の通りでございまして、南太平洋におきましても日本と王室皇室の関係にあったトンガにおいてすらすでに中国の大きなこの ODA の罠に引っかかってしまった。バヌアツという島国がありますが、ここにも中国は軍港を今作ろうとしておりますが、大体日本の ODA が 0.01% の金利でございますが、中国は 4% を超える利息を取るわけでございまして、こういうその海外援助の借金の罠にかかってしまったというのが、このインドを取り巻くところではスリランカもそうですし、モルディブもそうでございます。あるいはちょっと事情違いますがパキスタンもそうでございますし、 この借金の罠というものには多少皆さん今気を使い始めておりますが、時すでに遅しということで、ギリシャの港も取られそうな状況でございますし、モルジブもすでに彼らは港を確保しているということで、どちらかというと海洋の分野からの一路政策が非常に成功しているというふうに感じられるわけでございます。それじゃあこれは一体どこまで可能性があるのだろうかということを見てみますと、アフリカにおきましてもすでに新しい植民地政策としての中国と、借金漬けにして、そして全てのその利権を奪って労働者まで派遣して、その国の経済にはあんまり反映がされないという援助の仕方、雇用も存在しない、労働者も全部中国から連れていくと、こういうことに対する批判と警戒心というのがようやく今出てきたという段階ではないでしょうか。
Now, when it comes to the situations related to China, China has grown, especially in the recent years, from the standpoint of military as well as science and technology field. And the reason behind such a immediate rise of these capabilities of China has to do with the tremendous support that was provided from the United States. It's as a result of the engagement by the United States. There is a person from Hudson Institute here, and I also have read the book written by Mr. Pillsbury of 100 Years of Marathon, and this book has been very well known amongst many people that talks about the relationship of U.S. and China. Now, U.S. and Japan had the security treaty, and however, on the other side, on the flip side of it, United States has been providing a lot of support to China by providing some of the confidential military information to China, and also supporting various industries, namely science or technology industries of China. And the reason why U.S. has been supporting that way is because that U.S. had a wishful thinking in mind that at the end of the day, China would be able to become a democratic country and become an open country. However, recently, United States have learned that that's not going to be the case. Looking at the situations in the Spratly Islands, China has been putting a lot of effort from the military standpoint, developing the offshore areas of Spratly Islands from more than a decade ago. But the U.S. have never reprimanded on all the things that China has been doing. And this is all as a result from having this wishful thinking in mind. But recently, people had started to notice that China is never ever going to give up their communistic country and never would become democratic. And so the approach towards China by United States have changed only recently. In order for the stability of the Indo-Pacific region, there must be a stable relationship of the stakeholder countries. And for that, United States have started to value the relationship with India as well as Japan, three major democratic countries in this region. So that, and also Australia have shown interest in joining this trilateral relationship in order to go against the power from China. And however, I would say the situation has become almost too late in time, because China's One Belt, One Road approach is not necessarily One Belt, One Road terrestrial, because people tend to think of the Silk Road when they hear about One Belt, One Road. But in reality, China's mind is trying to govern the ports of various countries so that they would be able to go through the oceans rather than from terrestrial, because that is less costly from the standpoint of China. So that's why they have already governed the ports in Sri Lanka by having them use the port to China for over 99 years by providing them with an extensive loan. And also, same thing can be said for the South Pacific region, namely Tonga. Tonga is one of the countries that has the longest relationship with Japanese imperial palace and the royal family of Tonga. However, again, they were being trapped by the ODA loans from China. And this kind of the situation had also extended to Vanuatu as well. The China is now building the military port in this area. So from that sense, they have already started to encroach into all these different port governing activities so that they would be able to show their strength in the military world in various parts of the world. By the way, the ODA from China would receive 4% of interest rate, while Japan would only request for 0.01%. So you would know how much of the trap this would be by accepting the ODA loans from China. So this trap, I would say, has recently shed light, but I would say the situation is already too late because China is already advanced in taking various approaches already, because the port in Greek is also being covered by China, and so is the Maldives as well. So the question now is, how far would China is going to encroach into all these areas around the world? Now, I would say that they would be able to go through more so than ever on terrestrial as well, not necessarily the ports, because some of the African countries, they have already started providing such loans to those countries. And at the same time, China would bring their own labor to this country, meaning that there would be no people who would be able to be hired by this Chinese business because they would bring their own labor in place. So there would not much benefit from the local economy standpoint. So I think that this is, in a way, one of the continuous approach that they would be taking. And we have only realized this in recent times and started to criticize on all these activities made by China.
Arigato gozaimashita. Thank you for that comprehensive, candid, and astute comments on the geopolitical situation relating to this aspect. Let me now rotate the conversation a little bit, and I will come back again with a couple of questions and then open up. The last 15 minutes of the session will be questions from the audience. Let me request my colleague P.D. Rai to give us his initial comments.
Thank you, Jay. And I would like to thank the Ananta Aspen Center, the Nippon Foundation, and all the others who are here for inviting me and wanting me to say a few words on a very, very important topic. The question of how difficult the world has become, one can actually drill down, because we are all now in what is known as the election mode. If I just look at what happened in 2009, 2014, and now in 2019, I was in my constituency for the last 3 weeks, and as we are preparing for the elections, the general elections, and in fact in Sikkim, the state which I represent, this entire way in which the election now is fought has completely transformed. It is today, even as we speak, the speed and the frequency with which information, misinformation, news, fake news is carried out is just mind-boggling. And this is, I think, the sign of the times, because even as we think of how uncertain the world has become, you just have to actually start looking at what's happening throughout the world. And it was very aptly kind of published by the World Economic Forum in their Global Risks Report 2019, in which they found decision makers were seeing a further deterioration in geopolitical uncertainty and geoeconomic conditions throughout the world. Now, if you look at the way in which Sasakawa-san has actually portrayed the rise of China and the uncertain way in which the world is now trying to contain that is something which will continue to hit the headlines even as we move into 2019. In India, we all know that we are going into our general elections, and therefore the uncertainty of the outcome, the uncertainty with which, what economic practices or how the economy would unfold even after the 2019 elections is again something which is in many ways bothersome. However, you know that the world at large would be looking at India and seeing how this great democracy manages to continue with the democratic traditions that we have obtained over the last 70 years. Now, we have a long and abiding relationship with Japan. You know, Sasakawa-san, as he sits here and reels out the kind of work that he has been doing throughout his life, is testimony to the fact that he actually epitomizes the kind of relationship that we have. When we visit Japan, and I've visited Japan over 7 times, you go there and you get the feeling that here is a relationship which is at a personal level, at an MP's level, at a level of at the political level. It is something which is a bedrock of stability. And this kind of stability, which obviously the foundations and the core values on which all of us believe in, is again something which will probably continue over time and bring a lot of stability to both the region, that is the South Asian region, the East Asia region, and of course in a way in trying to contain the hegemonic rise of China. I've always been asked this question. You're from Sikkim. What happens in a case like Doklam? And I can tell this house today that when Doklam happened, it was something which was in a way waiting to happen. Now, there is this particular place almost like, the way in which China operates is pushing and pushing in a way in which it can wedge the relationship between India and Bhutan. And I think one of the reasons why Doklam continues to fester is that we have been able to maintain some amount of pushback in that particular region. But the question again remains as to how, for how long. And I would, I do believe that there is a lot of work to be done by both the Ministry of External Affairs as well as with our defense forces in being able to contain this particular pocket, because this is something in which this is an area of great concern in a geopolitical sense. And that then leads us to the next question as to what happens in the area of the Northeast. And I think that's where, with Japan, we have a solid partner, because their interest lies historically. All of us know that a lot of soldiers have fallen, their soldiers have fallen in Imphal, in Kohima, in Nagaland, and in Manipur, and in Arunachal. So with this kind of historical perspective comes a sense of, because it is an animistic culture where, you know, whether it is China, or whether it is even in Sikkim, or whether it is in Japan, you believe in ancestor worship, and that's one of the reasons why the Japanese keep coming back for their fallen people. But having said that, I think the question of how can the Northeast play a much more meaningful role for our nation lies in the question of connectivity. And that's where I think Japan continues to play a very important and a very significant role, as much as a very strategic role. So without saying too much more, but waiting for Jay's questions, I think the certainty of the relations between Japan and India, based upon solid core values and historical, our religion, Buddhism being a very big factor, and of course the economic ties that brings us together, is going to be a very powerful force in keeping this particular area of ours stable. So with these words, I'd like to again thank everybody for listening to you. I'll be waiting for the questions. Thank you very much.
ちょっといいですか、日印関係に触れられたんで、ちょっと一言。
May I add a few words since he had touched upon the Japan-India relationship?
皆さんご承知のように、日本はインドという国に対して大変な尊敬の心を持っているわけでございます。歴史的に見ましても、日本が最初に民間レベルで日本インド協会というのを作ったのは、日本は世界で最初はインドでございました。もうこれが106年か7年に今年はなるわけです。当初はインドの有名なタゴールさんと日本の芸術家との交流から始まったわけでございますが、特に我々大東亜戦争におきますパール判事の日本無罪説というものについて大変感謝をしておりまして、日本の中心のお寺にはこのパール判事の銅像が立っておりますし、日本人はこの銅像に敬愛を持って挨拶をするという習慣を持っております。そして逆に皆様方もご承知のように、インドの独立のきっかけになりましたチャンドラ・ボースさんをドイツに亡命してた時に、ドイツの U ボートで南アフリカまで運んでいただき、南アフリカまで日本の潜水艦が迎えに行き、そしてシンガポールで日本が英国と戦った時のインド兵の皆さん方を チャンドラボースと共にインドナショナルアーミーというものをここで設立をするわけでございます。従いまして現在のインドのこの国軍の創設に日本は陰ながら大きな力を発揮をしたという歴史もございます。従いまして日本にとってインドというのは大変好印象と感謝の気持ちを持った国でございます。従いまして今年の6月には今お話が出ましたけどもインパール作戦の時にはこのチャンドラボース氏も参画をしたわけでございますけどもコヒマに平和記念館を私たちの財団で作りインドに感謝の意を表するとともに英国と日本そしてインドの皆さん方の資料を収集しまして平和記念館をここに現在作っているところでございます。こういう長い100年を超える友好関係を持っている国というのは日本にとってインドだけでございますのでこれからの未来を考えたときに日印関係はそのベースとして日本側には信頼と感謝の気持ちがあるということを皆さんにご理解をいただきたいと思います。
Well, just to add, which related to the India and Japan relationship, as was touched upon earlier. Now, Japan actually sees India with admiration as well as respect at all times. And this history goes back to more than 100 years. India have first set up the Japan-India Association, and it's now commemorating the 106 years, I think, this year, which is also quite unique. And I think it's the only country from Japan's perspective that this friendship relationship have existed for such a long time. Now, this association started with the engagement between Mr. Dakor and the artist of Japan. And however, since then, many things have happened that have strengthened the relationship between Japan and India. The Judge Parr have actually made the statement that Japan is not guilty from the war crimes. And as a result, we have the memorial monument built in many of the shrines and temples in Japan. So people would go and pay tribute to that monument in some occasions. And also, when it comes to the independence of India, this is again is lied under the basis of the strong relationship between Japan and India. Chandra Bose, who was actually being freed to Germany, the Germans have actually sent the vessel over to South Africa, and the Japanese vessel had went to South Africa to pick Chandra Bose to bring him over to Singapore. And that was the time when Japan was fighting with British in Singapore. And also there were many soldiers from India who actually fought with Japan vis-a-vis Britain. And with the gathering of these soldiers from India fought in Singapore, and by bringing Chandra Bose from South Africa to Singapore, that was the time when Indian National Army was established. So in a way, Japan had contributed in building the India National Army that have led to the independence of India. So as this kind of anecdote also tells us, that there has been a very long friendly relationship between Japan and India, and it's going over 100 years now. And also in Impal tactics, Chandra Bose actually have took part in this. And we have been supporting to build the Peace Memorial Museum to commemorate all the effort made by Chandra Bose as well. So this is how much deep the relationship between the two nations are in various parts in the history for more than 100 years. And so I think that this kind of relationship doesn't exist with any other countries but India. So I just wanted to add that our relationship has gone quite far in history that have continued to date.
Thank you. That reference to the INA, I think, is very pertinent, considering that just a couple of days ago, for the first time, INA veterans took part in the Republic Day parade after all these decades. Let me come to Tarun Das, who straddles the world of industry, economics, and geopolitics like none other, to share with us some insights on the topic that we are discussing today.
Thank you, Jay. I'll make 5 points. First point is about leprosy, and 4 are about our bilateral relations between India and Japan. I am privileged to be part of the Sasakawa India Leprosy Foundation, which was set up in 2006, and I've been part of the Board of Trustees since then. The real work is done by a small team of dedicated staff headed by Dr. Vinita Shankar, who is here. Put up your hand. She's the person who does the work. And it's been a tremendous learning from Sasakawa-san. He is our patron. He is our mentor. And it's not just learning about leprosy. It's learning about humility. It's learning about how to be mission-oriented and how to work at the grassroots level. I've had the privilege of accompanying him to leprosy colonies and seen the affection, the respect, the connect that he has with persons in the colonies. Nobody in India can match this connection that a person from Japan has with the people in the leprosy colonies. It's a huge example to all of us and a huge learning for me, and I'm very grateful for that. The 4 points about bilateral relations. I know that we have a long historic relationship between Japan and India. And there are people who are sitting in this room who have worked diligently on that relationship. Ambassador Aftab Seth, who was our ambassador to Japan, and other colleagues, and there are several here from the Foreign Service, have been deeply involved in working on that bilateral relationship. But when in 2005, the then Prime Minister of India asked the Ananta Aspen Center to start a strategic dialogue at the non-official level, the idea and the objective was that can we take it to a higher level? Can we take it to a new level? And can we do with Japan, this is exactly what he said to us, so can we do with Japan what we had been able to achieve over the several years preceding that with the USA? Because we had started a track 2 dialogue with USA after the nuclear tests and after all the tension in the bilateral relationship. And Jay, you have been part of that US dialogue and you are part of the Japan dialogue, and you know how all of that has gone. How do we go to a new level? How do we build new trust between Japan and India? Well, the road to Tokyo was not direct. We had to go via Washington. We had to go via Washington because Washington has had a close relationship and an alliance with Japan. And we went, at that time, Kiran Pastricha was heading the CII Washington office. I talked to her, and she went to a man called Michael Green, professor of Japan Affairs, Japan chair in the CSIS. He's a renowned think tank. And Mike Green connected us to Japan. Mike Green connected us to Kasai-san, chairman of Japan, the bullet train company, JR Central. And we started this dialogue at a trilateral basis. So the Americans are there, the Japanese and the Indians. Later on, as trust between the Japanese and Indians got built, it became both trilateral and separately bilateral. And the bilateral is what I want to talk about. This new process, this new initiative between the two countries, non-government and government, is only a decade old. We may have had a relationship of 100 years, but the new effort, the new initiatives, especially aiming at economic cooperation, technological cooperation, and security cooperation, is of recent origin. So you have to understand that it's a very short period of time in which we have been intensively working to build maritime cooperation, defense cooperation, nuclear cooperation, and all of that. And all these things take time because we have to learn to trust each other. And we have to find ways of building mutual confidence between each other. So that's my first point on the bilateral. The second point is, we have, Sasakawa-san, we are very different people. We are Asians, supposedly Asians, but we are very different people. We have different culture, we have different systems, we have different practices, and most of all, what I have noticed in all these years of going to Japan and coming back and working with the Japanese, we have a different standards of many things, especially discipline. If we could have 25% of the discipline that the Japanese have, this country would be a different country. But we are not. We are individualistic. We are heterogeneous. We are diverse. I know everything. Everybody, each one of us knows everything. Nobody is willing to listen to anybody else. Your society is different. Our society is different. So we have to bridge that gap. And I think one of the things we have to do is we have to learn Japanese. Many more Indians have to learn the Japanese language. Because by learning the language, we will come close to your culture. We will understand your history and what kind of people you all are. And I think we will gain from that. And we will both gain from that. Because the bilateral cooperation will get much more deepened if I can speak to you in your language, and I can understand what you say without a translator, without an interpreter. So that was my first point. Second, if we do this, if we work at it in building trust and improving our standards, I can see, as Mr. Rai mentioned, P.D. Rai, about the affinity, the Buddhism. I can see so thousands and thousands of new Japanese tourists coming to India because they would find, they want to come to India, but they are put off by our infrastructure. They are put off by the condition of our heritage sites and the condition of the stay and accommodation and safety. So we would get a huge influx of tourists, especially to the Northeast, if we were able to improve and raise our standards in this area. Our economic cooperation would improve. Mr. Panda asked about Africa. We are trying to work together in Africa. We are trying to work together in South Asia and Southeast Asia. We are having huge problems with each other because we have different systems. No one is to blame. You have a different system, I have a different system of working. And we are not able to do joint projects together. We are having difficulty. So now there is a new idea that you take a project, Japan will do this part, we will do this part. We will not try to do the two parts together because there is a disconnect between us. You understand what I'm saying, Aftab? Yes. So this is a new thought process which is going on between us so that we can implement joint projects together, but we will have to handle it differently because oil and water are not mixing well together. One very important binding force in the last 13 years of our strategic dialogue has been China. Every time we have met, a central part of the agenda, and which you have talked about so eloquently today, has been China, because it is a shared concern, it's a common concern between Japan and India, and including the USA, when we had the trilateral going regularly. That binding force, I think, will continue, especially after hearing you and your thought process that they are not going to change. So we have to see how we can work together as democracies to deal with this new superpower of the world. In President Obama's time, there was talk of G2. I think in our time, we are thinking that maybe it will be G1, and G1 will be China. It won't be USA. My friend Eric Brown is sitting here, but from the Hudson Institute, who I introduced to you. But I think China's vision is very clear on that. It's about G1, and take time, and they'll work at it. But they are determined to be G1, and they're not going to share the world with the USA. So it becomes even more important that we come together. Our 10-year track record is very good. Our 90-year track record before that on the historic relationship, the cultural relationship, all that was very good. But we have to now focus on more and more security, on defense, on intelligence, on terrorism, on cyber security, and all these, on maritime, so that we can deal with the future. And I think we can. We are on the way, but I think I would do what the government have done on China. They have put together an institution within government dedicated entirely to studying, researching, analyzing, and working out our strategy on China. We talked about it earlier today. I think we probably need to do something like that on how can we do much more with each other between Japan and India. We should do it on both sides. We have a wonderful relationship at the political level. Our leaders are very close. Our governments are close. But we now have to bridge this difference in culture, difference in language, and difference in standards. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Tarun. We have about 7 or 8 minutes left in this session. So I think we will probably have to curtail the Q&A session that I had in mind for the audience, because we are required to leave this room. There is another event happening here thereafter. What I'm going to ask is, I'll ask each of the panelists to take a minute or two to make brief closing comments. I'll go in in the order of Mr. P.D. Rai first, Tarun Das, and final closing comments to Sasakawa-san. P.D.?
Yeah, the one point which I thought I need to place here, which I didn't hear coming from anywhere else, is this whole pushback by the US on China on technology. Now this is, you know, the Internet of Things. This is an age, like I said before, in which we have so many devices, and these devices, whatever you use them, are sending data back, and in the back end all this data is actually being processed. Now, I think one area of real collaboration, and indeed it would be absolutely strategic, is to collaborate with Japan on the entire spectrum of telecommunication, on the spectrum of the internet-oriented devices, where data collection is actually happening. Now this, because we're not going to get away from there, whether it's artificial intelligence or robotics or whatever, this is an area where we all need to work to forge ahead. And if we need some reliable partners, I think the partnership has to be with Japan. And it is very good that we're doing the bullet train with Japan. And I think in alignment with that, I think all the other areas of technical and strategic partnerships need to go hand in hand with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I yield my time. I'd rather hear Sasakawa-san.
Wonderful. Sasakawa-san, closing comments.
時間が迫っているようでございますが、先ほどダースさんから4項目の話が出ましたけども、今中国では2チャンネルで朝から晩まで半日のテレビ放送がずっと過去続いております。しかしながらここに来て観光客が急激に400万以上の人が来る。もう東京も大阪も至る所中国人。自分たちが学んできたことが全く違うということに彼らが気がついて、また日本に来たいっていう人が 90% を超えるという時代になりまして、中国の人が日本に来てメイドインチャイナの品物を買うんです。これ皆さんおかしいと思うでしょう。日本まで来た中国人がなんで日本でメイドインチャイナの安いものを買って帰るか。中国での検査はいい加減だし恐ろしいと。しかし日本はきっちりした国だから、日本で買ったもんなら安心だということで買って帰るわけでございますけれども、大変多くの方が日本に来ることによって、いくら政府が反日、そして軍事大国に行く日本と言ってみても、国民レベルでそういう信頼関係が作られていくわけです。ですからもちろん政府間レベル、あるいはビジネス界、あるいは安全保障の分野もそうですし、さまざまな分野がありますが、最終的にはやはり国民同士の相互理解ということが最も重要なことでございますし、これはもう百聞は一見にしかず、やはり観光というものはそれぞれの国の経済にとっても非常に波及的効果の高い分野でございますから、少しダースさんが触れられましたけども、やはり両国のやはり国民レベルの交流、この基礎的な部分の信頼関係を築くには、やはり観光というのは大変重要な役割を示すわけでございますので、
この国民レベルの交流のための観光政策というものも大事でございますし、おっしゃった安全保障の分野、特に海洋を含めまして、今、政府間レベルで相当話がきちっと進んでます。日本の自衛隊の艦船も入れてもらいましたし、また私自身もお国の海洋のために、もうおそらく明日ですか、コーストガードのところに行きますけども、大変優れた人たちが私たち小学生としてスウェーデンに世界海事大学というのがありますが、そこに中国の選ばれた人を教育しておりますけども、海洋分野においても素晴らしい人たちがいらっしゃいます。そういう意味でやっと本格的にこれから日印関係が未来志向でこの発展していく、そういう環境がここで整ったということが言えるんではないでしょうか。したがってこれからの特にアジアにおけるインドと日本との関係が強化されることによって、このアジア地域全般の安定が保たれる時代にしなければいけませんし、それが日本とインドの役割であり、この両国の安定した強固な関係というものがまたアメリカの政策に対して大きな影響力と信頼を勝ち得るのではないかと思います。そういうことで日本とインドの関係強化がアメリカに対しての信頼を勝ち得、強力な新しい三角の関係がここにトライアングルが生まれなきゃいけませんし、生まれるように我々は努力することが現代に生きる我々の務めではないでしょうか。
Now, talking about China, since Mr. Das have touched upon it a little bit, in China, they have so-called Channel 2, and this is the channel on the TV program that covers anti-Japan program 24/7. And this is the way that they will tell people and to go anti-Japan. However, on the other hand, the tourism, Chinese tourists coming into Japan has risen so much in recent years. There are more than 4 million people coming to Japan each time, and they go around Tokyo, Osaka, and various parts of Japan. And they have started to realize that when they come to Japan as a tourist, what they see is so different from what they see through this channel too. And 90% of these tourists, when they're asked the question whether they wish or want to return back to Japan, 90% of the people would respond, yes, they want to come back to Japan as a tourist. So I would say seeing is believing. And so this is the importance of tourism, I think. When the people comes to the country and know more about that country and be able to see its culture and history, then these people would be able to form the trustworthy relationship with the people of that country. So I think that this is, in a way, the essence of what Mr. Das have mentioned, that this could be the basis of the trust relationship amongst two nations. And I think that the tourism and the policy, including the tourism, would help greatly to understand more about the differences amongst the two countries and be able to work towards closing the gap of those differencing cultures. And I think that Chinese people, when they come to Japan, they buy made-in-China products in Japan. And you may wonder why they want to buy the products that were made in their own home country. But their view is that when things are made in China and when they're sold in China, the China's inspection and this thorough valuation process is not good. So they know that the products they sell there is really bad. But if it's made in China, sold in Japan, they know that the checking process that Japanese people does over manufacturing, it's so good that even if it's made in China, the products are always good. So that's why they are feeling very much secured buying products made in China, in Japan. So this is the way that people would be able to know that it's not worthwhile to go anti-Japan, because when they come to Japan, they know how good Japanese products, Japanese people are. And so this is, I think, the true essence of the learning process amongst the people, by knowing more about those countries by visiting them. And I think that this can also be said into the security world as well. If Japan and India have a solid and stable relationship, then I'm sure that the bilateral relationship would have much more of a speaking power towards the United States. I'm sure that the United States may want to change their policies by knowing how dedicated Japan and India relationship is in order to bring peace and stability to Asian region. And I think that there might be a new triangle relationship that may born as a result from this trustworthy relationship. And the Japanese people are always working towards the friendly relationship with India. And I would be seeing the person from the Coast Guard tomorrow, but the Nippon Foundation is providing scholarship program to nurture the capacity amongst the Coast Guard staff as well. And they are being sent as a scholarship program to the World Maritime University in Sweden, so that they would be able to learn a lot of things relative to marine safety and security. So I think that this kind of relationship is going to be the basis for the future relationship of both countries that would bring stability to the Asian region, and at the same time be able to become much more stronger by forming the relationship with the United States as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the close of this session. My apologies for having to curtail the open house because of lack of time, but I'm sure you'll agree that the panelists brought their insights, their perspectives with great insight on the topic of discussion today. And also I thank them for the candor with which they spoke on these geopolitical issues. Request you all to join me in giving a hand to the panelists and to the organizers. Thank you.